that point that you're feeling where you're kind of connecting and being very deliberate about, oh yeah, I get that. Or as Funakoshi says, about 3 years to develop a stress pattern in the muscle fiber. That's what he said. Then you can say, okay, now I'm going to hit that point and then release that point. If you do it too prematurely though, you end up with a punch that's just like, doesn't have anything. You just kind of get this little arm movement with no power in it. You want to have that feeling of like, connect, so that thing that you remembered, you can hit it in an instant and let it go. But so you hit and snap your arm back with an elasticity. Not a pushing out movement, not a pulling back movement, but a fully integrated, almost like an elastic snap. It's not two separate movements. It's like pulling on a cord and releasing the cord. So that feeling of like pull, push, relax. Or if you here, connect. For a second, connect. You follow what I'm saying? With that inflection, like you're pushing energy out. Shoring everything up except the path of least resistance, and that's the place where your energy, all this energy goes, and then you release. If you're in super close, this is a different, like if I punch, if the guy's that far, like when I'm punching, my hand is palm up until my elbow leaves my hip. If the guy happens to be there, I'm using urazu. If he's a little further out and the distance happens to be there, this is just the normal rotation of my punch. Then I'm using tatezu. Then of course that would be about the furthest out, because that's just hitting the surface of his gi. So when you're striking, you see your hand totally palm down. Really wouldn't be like that because you have nothing left. And if you hit the makiwara, you'll know that this is actually the weakest place for your fist to be in. When your hand is palm down, more inclined to break this connection. Some styles like Ishin Ryu are so about that they always use vertical style punching. Some Chinese styles all use vertical style punching. Because when the elbow's down, the connection is much easier to the center. But when you go like this, the elbow starts to rotate a little bit out to the side. Now it's difficult to make these connections and you get these breaks in the chain. You follow? So if by chance you step in too close, don't pull back to make a picture perfect punch. You would just use a different technique like pull, or pull, or pull, but I'm never there. You follow? Okay, so now let's do just the opposite extreme. You're a little too far out. Now how do you close this distance? So what you're going to do is you're going to push with the back leg and you're going to slide this front foot forward to make some distance. So I'd like you what not to do is step heel toe. Use this leg to push. So I'm going to push this foot and let that go right into my punch. So what I'm striving for is a continuous motion that's moving fluidly without any interruption, staying at the same level. So I'm going to push with this leg, then so from here I push, here, way out here, step, okay? So give it a try. Try to get this gliding across the floor, feeling in your step. Okay? So I would say when you make this movement, try to come in with sort of a neutral feeling that then finally manifests in your punch. But you don't want to telegraph your punch. You know, you don't want to telegraph your moitsuki by looking, like hovering your shoulders. You know, you're just covering distance. So that's all I'm doing at that point. Just here, just covering distance. And then somewhere in my covering distanceness, I decide, oh, punch. You know, we're covering distance, oh, squirt. You know, we're covering distance, oh, my game. You follow what I'm saying? Don't be thinking it and showing it in your shape. Okay? So just kind of have that, and as a receiver, be like, I mean, you're training too, right? There's no ordinary moments. So you're not just standing there waiting, you're thinking. So I'm trying to perceive, what do I see him coming with? Can I feel what it is? Now, I will just tell you the things that I think about when I'm doing it, just to make sure I'm honest with my technique. And I always go back to, what are the core principles? Yeah, everything wants to come from my center. So when I move, I want to feel like I'm hitting with this feeling, as opposed to hitting with this feeling. So movement in karate is different than walking. Walking is essentially a controlled stumble. I mean, what happens when we walk is our upper body goes first, and our foot basically catches that. Upper body goes first, foot catches it. You know that's the case because if you get your foot hung up on something like the curb, you tripped because your leg wasn't there to catch your body, right? Movement in karate is totally different. Foot goes first, body follows. So if I clash into something, I don't break my structure. I've still got integrity to my posture. So when you move, I want you just, even if you're not doing this with your partner, I want you to feel as if when he moves, he wants to feel this like that. So even when someone's not pulling on my obi, I picture somebody pulling on my obi, and I also kind of picture somebody kind of holding their hand a little bit like that. So kind of moving like that. You see what I'm saying? So everything is driving via your center space. So when I'm coming in, everything is coming from my center and not like I'm walking. I mean, your belt should be at your center, okay? And in its lowness, in its centeredness, it pulls all this down. So anxiety, all the things that take you out of the moment, they manifest in a departure from your center. So when I'm worried or I'm stressed or I have regret, that has a tendency to create this effect on my body. Or just if you're fearful, if you're worried, this is what happens, right? If you're riding your bike and a squirrel runs, you freak. Nobody rides a bike, squirrel. You follow what I'm saying? So this down feeling is really, this is important. So, and it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be connect, just feel low. A great opportunity to get that is when sensei says, yoi, ready stance, boom. We tend to think of ready stance as being something preparatory or something after the fact. I just did something or I'm about to do something. There are no ordinary moments. I'm doing something. I'm probably the most important thing, connecting to my center training.